So I'm actually sitting at the school getting ready. I'm going to go get my grandbaby. Then I got to go pick up the other kids. But I wanted to share something with you. Um, what I really love about palmistry is the fact that it's a lot like astrology. In fact, it's just like astrology, except for it's progressive in the idea that no matter what you see in your hand, you will see the changes that you make in the way that you think or the way that you process things, and it will be reflected in your hand. So when I say things like you might struggle more in this area, it's because you might have a tendency to. But when you overcome certain things, you'll be able to see that in your hand. And then it's also going to show you the areas that you may not struggle as much, just like astrology. But again, you get to see, the things that you've learned, the things that you are progressive in. It will show you in your hand. So the following is going to be the highlights from the last class that I did on TikTok, and it's just on the Heartline. And so there are a lot of things that I did not cover yet, but I want to wait until we get through all of the major things. Like we did the hand shape, and we did the mounts, and now I'm just beginning the major lines. So once we get through all that, then we'll talk about like the little lines and signs that you see all over the hands. So enjoy. I will also add pictures of what I was talking about throughout the class because I couldn't change my photos. So I will add the photos of the hand types at the end, or the different heart lines that I was referring to, with labels so that you know what you're looking for. Actually, I'll put them in right after this so that when you're watching it, you can you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So enjoy, and thank you for being here with me. This is your upward and downward curve. This is your straight. This is ending in Saturn. This is ending between Saturn and Jupiter. This is ending in Jupiter. But the Heartline does tell us a lot about our emotions, how we process those emotions. And so today, I want you just to identify where you see your Heartline in your hand. It is at the top of your hand, underneath your finger line. It's also called the love line, and it reveals how our emotions, our relationships, how we are romantically. And what that tells me, if I see a curved heart line, that is someone that has what's called a physical heart line. And that is the ability to convey to those around us how they make us feel. It shows that you have the ability to let somebody know how you feel about things. You can vocalize it, or you're very demonstrative. Now, the opposite of that would be somebody that has a straight line, and we call that a mental heart line. And that means that you have a hard time conveying how you feel about things, so you tend to internalize. The heart line, again, back to if it's straight, these are the people that have a hard time letting people know how they feel about things. So when you internalize your emotions, that does show a person that keeps stuff inside, so they're not as verbal with their feelings. And so those are the type of people you really don't know how they're feeling unless they keep it inside so long that they tend to just have an outburst, because they're either triggered or they just have held stuff in for so long. It has to come out. You know what I mean? So that is the difference. Now, when you see a heart line that actually curves downwards, these people have an even more significant trouble with conveying how they feel, which means they could be extremely depressed or they might even be angry. It just depends on all the other things that we have talked about in the previous classes. So if you have not had a chance, if you see a straight heart line or a curved downwards heart line on somebody that, say, has a fire hand, these are the people that you might find that are trigger happy. You know what I mean? These are the people that they internalize so much that when they are triggered, they have an outburst of anger. And so it's important to know our hand type. It's important to know the baseline of our personality. If we have fire, a person that might have a water hand and has an extremely curved downwards heart line or straight heart line, those are the people that are probably going to be very depressed because they don't know how to convey those emotions, and they have a lot of them. They're extremely sensitive and extremely they feel everything. And so if you don't have a way to channel that, it can turn into depression. Now, on the other side of that, if you see somebody with the fire hand that has a curved upwards heart line, well, these are the people that are just kind of like, they could be extremely romantic, and they show it in everything that they do. They're it's like the Knight of Wands in the tarot, if you know anything about tarot. So a curved heart line on somebody that has a fire hand is somebody that could be very sensuous. They show their affections. They talk about their affections. They could be flirtatious. Now, a person with a curved heart line on a water hand, these are the people that are extremely romantic, and they might write poetry for their partner. They might write music for their partner. And I don't want to just, isolate I want to talk about the earth personality with the curved heart line. Now, these people are going to also be very sensuous. These are the people that are very in touch with their physical self. So when they don't have any problem with conveying how they feel, these are the people that are going to give you those back rubs. They're very sensual, and they want to show you how they feel with their touch. You know what I mean? Line that goes downwards. Well, these are the people that are going to struggle with showing it. So they might even be a little rigid, they might seem rigid. Like, these are the people you're not going to know what they're thinking at all. You're not going to really understand how they're feeling because they're going to have trouble showing you. Like, their actions are not going to match the words coming out of their mouth because they truly just don't know how to convey how they're feeling. Now, the hand type is the air. So if you were in the classes that showed the type of hand type, the air, which is the square palm with the long fingers, these are the people, if they have a curved heart line, they definitely want to talk about their feelings. And they're going to want to analyze your feelings also. The air personality is all about thought and communication. So with a curved heart line, they're going to be all about, like their throat chakra, when they are healthy, is going to be open, and they're going to want to talk about everything. Now, a person with a straight heart line on the straight heart line on the air hand, those are the people that are going to struggle with their words still. But they have so much they want to say and they want to convey to you. They're going to struggle with it. So if you see somebody with an air hand, or if you have an air hand, you're going to want to really be patient with yourself, because it's almost like it's natural that you want to communicate, but you're going to struggle when it comes to emotions. So Again, you're going to want to be patient with yourself and really, really work on trying to heal that inner child so that you don't say the wrong things when you are emotional. And again, with the curved downwards heartline on the air hand, it's going to come out with depression. So, and again, your words are going to convey what you're feeling. It's just they're going to be more flippant. Like you might be somebody that might have to really watch your words because you are a little bit depressed, So these are the difference between curved heartline, straight heartline, and curved downwards heartline. So downwards heartline. So any type of curving shows that you can express it, but having it curved upwards is almost like a positive, you're able to express yourself in a positive way. If it's straight, you don't know how to express yourself. If it's curved downwards, that's where these are the people that are more defensive and they just don't understand how to communicate how they're feeling in a positive way. So if you've been in the classes, you definitely, and also we talked about the water personality. The water hand type is the rectangular palm with the very long fingers. And these again are the very emotional, very sensitive people, very caring. And so those different heartlines show like when a person has or like can express themselves, well, then they really need to learn to channel that because they're going to be, those people can get depressed very easy because they give everything, and when I'm talking about emotions here. So a curved heartline is very good to see on a water hand. A straight heartline is going to be someone that is they struggle, and so they might not share with you how they're feeling, even though they're feeling everything, until they are provoked. So a person that has a short heartline, these are people that are going to it doesn't take as much, to bring about those feelings. So, and then longer is someone that might have more patience. But where it points to is extremely important also. So Saturn, which is that middle finger, like you can see in this picture right here, that this heartline stops in Saturn. And Saturn is very altruistic. It's very, these are your people that like adhere to rules. They follow a certain code. So when somebody's heartline stops right there in Saturn, these are the people that want to help humanity. They could be very much activist. Because Saturn is the one that sets the rules, you know what I mean? But we can also fool ourselves here. Because we are so altruistic and we just want to help others, unless we, enlighten ourselves with more than just one line of vision, you know what I'm saying? Like we want to have many paths to enlightenment when we see a heartline like this, because if we are too focused on one path, then we may not understand that someone else's truth might not be the same as ours. Although, it's still a very good, it's a very good heartline to see. It's just knowing that about yourself helps you to understand. If you can see this in yourself, you might see it in other people too. So doing that inner work, that inner child healing, that shadow work is absolutely essential to healing the parts of ourselves that might cause us to again be reactive or proactive. And then once we understand that about ourselves, well, then we can have compassion and understanding for other people. So if your heartline points to the middle of those two fingers that you see, Jupiter and Saturn. So Saturn is the middle finger, Jupiter is the index finger. So if you have a heart line that goes right up in between those two, that shows someone who is so balanced in wanting to do the right thing for humanity, but also for themselves. So this is the type of person that is very understanding, very forgiving. It's a wonderful placement to have because you don't struggle with other people's opinions as much. You don't struggle with putting yourself in a box of your own rules. You know, you're more of a person that is open to different experiences and understanding how other people feel and very forgiving of those around you. Now, when you find your heart line pointed at Jupiter, Jupiter is where we find a lot of our ego, our drive, our leadership. Now, a heart line that is pointed into Jupiter shows someone that could be very idealistic. And by that, I mean someone that thinks that their way is the best way. That doesn't mean that they have bad intentions. It just means that they believe that their way is the way that you should be living. They can be very understanding and forgiving, but they're still going to tell you, they're still going to want to give you advice because they believe that they got it, you know? So, and if you see that in your hand, you might think that, you know, this is working for me. I know it works. I don't have a problem with telling people how I feel. And you just want to give advice. It's almost like instinct. You just want to share that with others. You're proud of yourself. You're proud of how you deal with things. Now, again, we have to really consider whether that line is straight or curved when we are talking about where it's pointing. Because if it's straight and it falls underneath Saturn, you're going to struggle with opening up about your ideas, you know, and so if it's curved, it's easy for you to share those ideas, you know. But again, you are the person that's out there on the front line wanting to help other people. If it's curved downwards, that is something that a person like that might really need somebody to talk to regularly because they have a hard time expressing themselves. So you just need, if you find yourself with a short heart line that stops underneath that middle finger, you're really going to want to make sure you have a best friend or somebody that can just be there for you, that you can talk to, or journal. You really, you know, journaling is wonderful. You know, get yourself out in nature, make sure you're grounded, and just so that you have a release, because someone that is extremely altruistic as yourself, you know, just wants to help everybody. If you can't express those feelings and you internalize them, or you don't know how to channel them correctly, you're going to find yourself very frustrated. And so you just need to stay, you know, that you want to stay grounded, and you want to be able to share those things. And if you have trouble opening up to other people, then writing is a good way to channel those things. Now, a straight heart line that is kind of ending in between there, it just means that, you know, you're still a very forgiving person, but you're still going to struggle with releasing those emotions. So anyone with a straight heart line, I would suggest that all the way around. Make sure you're journaling. Make sure you're getting out in nature. And as much as it might be hard to talk to other people, try. Because the other wonderful thing about palmistry, and I'm getting ready to end this here, the wonderful thing about palmistry is even though we're talking about a major line here, you will see other lines that come off of your heart line. And at the end of all these classes, I'm going to get into like what it means to have an island, what it means to have crosses, squares, circles, stars. I will get into all of that, but I want to give you the baseline. Like again, we had the hand type, we have the mounts. That way you understand the areas that are in your hand where you will find these signs. It's going to help you understand what each of those signs mean to the particular O line and then another line. Like it's all part of your heart line there, that purple line. But there's a break. Like you have two lines there, you know, instead of just the one going clear across, there's like a break in it. That is a period in your life that you were numb, like you just weren't feeling anything, like you're almost like your life force was just, you weren't coping. Put it this way, you just were not coping with things. That's going to be the same like when you see islands and crosses and stuff like that. So the beautiful thing, again, getting back to what I was initially saying, is when you have a major line like that and you see all these other little lines on there, whether it be islands, crosses, or lines that are connected either going up or down, these are indications that your mind has actually recognized either an improvement or something else happened. And they're just kind of like if I was looking at your hand and I saw a bunch of little lines going upwards, I would say, oh my goodness, you had a period of where you were happy and you were communicating well, your feelings, even on a straight line. You know what I'm saying? Because those little lines going upwards, like little feathery lines that are coming up off of your heart line, show the good moments in your life. Now going downwards, if you're seeing little feathered lines going downwards off of that, that shows me those are the times that you might have struggled and you might have like been depressed about things. And so it was hard for you to move forward in those moments. Hi, I want to show you something real quick before we get any further in these classes. I want you to understand for yourself how to create a timeline on your major lines. So what you do is you find the beginning of that line. So for the headline, which is right here, and your lifeline, which is right here, you find the beginning. And this is the beginning, so the beginning starts at 0. This is the end, and so the end is 80. Same with here. No matter how short or long your line is, it's still 0 to 80. So once you've established what your major line is and how long it is, so you've got 0 and 80. Then you go to the middle of that, and that's 40. Knowing where your line starts is 0, so you count backwards. You've got 40, 30, 20, 10, and so on. Same with your headline. This would be 0, this would be 80, so you would find 40 in the middle and then count backwards. And this is just going to show you as we move forward through these classes, you know, if there's something that happened, your mind is going to like recognize how you process that period of time in your life. And it just gets more accurate knowing where that timeline is and where it lands. Now for the Heartline, it's a little bit different. And other readers actually do it different. But for me, this is the end of the line. This is the beginning. And I recognize it in myself as much as I have others. A lot of people will have this like little tassel at the end. I don't know if you can see that, but the lines are going down and up. I call it the tassel of divorce because it shows kind of like a struggle. You know, we're happy, we're sad. And that happens a lot in the youth. And so with this in the way that I read, with this being the beginning and this being the end, this would be 0 and this would be 80. So then you would mark your 40 in the middle, and then you would count, you know, backwards here, 30, 20, 10, 0. And then as we move through it, it would be here. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, 40, 50, 60 to 80. And, you know, and I know people live longer than 80, thank goodness. But when you're reading a poem and that person that comes to you is not 80, then that's the standard. You know what I mean? If they're older, well, then you can, definitely compensate for that. So keep that in your mind. That's how you create a timeline on your major lines. So thank you for joining me. Um, I hope it wasn't too all over the place because I was trying to cut out where I was rambling. So, yeah, I hope you'll join me on the next one. Or if you are on TikTok and you happen to see the notification, hop in. I try not to ramble through it, but unfortunately, sometimes I do. I get off track because I got squirrel brain. um, but yeah, the next time we are going to be talking about the headline. And again, there's a lot more information to be learned um, when concerning each major line. But I'm just trying to give you the basics right now of each major line. So the headline will be kind of the same thing on whether it's curved, short, where it ends, that kind of stuff. And then after we get through the major lines, then I'm going to start on, like when you find a cross on there or an island, um, stars and squares and all that good stuff. So, and then at the end of it, there are other, like, there's something called a girdle of Venus. There's a via lascivia. There's all sorts of other little, they're called minor lines, but they're little signs in the hands that we'll get to those. But those will be the last things. So I wanted to do it this way so that you know that wherever you see these, you're going to know the area, which will help you to retain that, just by knowing the area. So make sure that you familiarized yourself with the mounts and your hand shape, and stay tuned for the rest of the major lines. And that is how I have learned to retain. It helps it to make sense for me instead of opening up a book and all it's showing you is if your line looks like this, it means this. It's just so hard for me to remember. So I hope that it helps you like it helped me. And thank you again for sharing this time with me.